Hello, this is Bridget with Divine Essentials. Okay, guys, we are moving on with Alcyone Light Healing. We are moving on to week 16, which is level 3, part 5. We're going to talk about the Galactic War. I've already recorded this once, and last night I sat down and decided I was going to do a little bit of writing to kind of just, collect my thoughts about it, because that's what I usually do with these videos, is I will kind of sit down and be like, all right, what am I going to talk about? Break it down a little bit of automatic writing from the Emissaries of Light. And I ended up writing for a really long time, and I was struggling a little bit because I was like, oh, I can't say that, I can't say this, I can't say that. And I would, get rid of that piece of paper and start writing again, and it would be like the same information coming through, and I'm like, guys, can't say this. And, I went back and forth and struggled a little bit until very late or very early in the morning. And by then I was exhausted. And so I was like, I need to go to sleep. And now it's again very late or very early in the morning. And I've been kind of going back and forth a little bit with this, because I'm like, do I want to say that? Just because some of the stuff is like, it's I feel like many of you guys kind of already know it. Some of you guys, probably already have heard it. But also because he's like, who wants to be the one that's like, hey guys, by the way, there's some stuff going on, and I'm going to be the one that tells you. And I don't care if you think I'm crazy. I don't care, about that. I just don't want to be like, put under a telescope, basically, so to say. So anyways, I've been going back and forth, and I've also been having a hard time getting things done, just because I'm having a really hard time with my memory. But then I found out today, because I saw that when I posted that in the group, there's other people in the group, and there's other people on Instagram who have also been having that memory thing happen, where they're like not able to remember why they walked into a room, or they're not remembering, like I'll open the closet door and I'm like, what am I doing? Like instantly I don't know what I'm doing anymore. Last night it happened to me. I was going downstairs to get the broom, and on the stairs I was like, where am I going? And it like I'm catching myself because I'm like more aware of it, so I'm like, wait a minute, what am I going downstairs? And then I stand there and I'm like, what the hell am I doing? And I stood there and I was like, why am I going down? I know I'm going down for a reason. So I turn around to come back up, and I was like, oh yeah, broom. So I went down and got it. But it's like, I can't multitask. I can't get things done on like a reasonable time. I did a reading for someone the other night, and it was a 20-minute reading. For 2 hours I recorded. And I knew I went over, but I didn't think I went over by an hour and 40 minutes. I thought that if anything, it was like a 45-minute, reading. I know the girl, like, because she's gotten readings from me a lot. So sometimes if I know the person on that level of like, I've read for them a lot and they keep coming back, like, I give them a little bit of extra time. Like I've done an hour before for somebody when they only booked in for 20 minutes. That's not so big of a deal, but 2 hours is a lot of time, especially when you have 2 hours of readings to do in full, you know what I mean? So yeah, I don't know, like I'm not very good at getting things done right now. But what is happening also is tons of information is coming in from the emissaries. Like I'll sit down and have a pen and paper by me all the time right now, because like decks are coming in. Like I'm going to be making a bunch of decks, apparently. Books that I need to write. I don't think they're going to be like big, hardcover books, but more so like ebooks. Courses, like new courses are coming in through me that I need to do, that I need to teach. And I'm like, I'm still teaching Alcyone Light Healing for like a long time. But just a lot of stuff. So I don't know if you guys are experiencing like all of those things, but I think some of you guys are experiencing some of those things. And so I feel like partly with the memory thing that it may be more so like tapping into like a different level of consciousness or something for a second, or a different timeline, or a different, reality, and then being like, wait a minute, you know, and coming back into this one or something. I don't know. It's weird because we've been messing with the Akashic records. We've been messing with like time and space. So, you know, maybe we're just, you know, shifting our vibrations up and out of the limitation of 3D reality and, you know, the time that we have here, because time is an illusion. So trying to live by time and having the awareness of it being an illusion is kind of, you know, contradictory, and it can be hard. But yeah, that's going on, and I know I wanted to mention it just in case if you're at this point in Alcyone Light Healing and have been experiencing weird things like that, that may be why. But I also had Lyme disease, which my doctor, when they tested me last, I just got a letter in the mail today actually, and I'm reading clear. Like, I don't read as I have Lyme or any tick-borne disease right now, but my sister said that sometimes you can get Lyme fog, where your brain, you know, is like, durr, and it goes away. So maybe I have a combination of it, or I don't know, because like for you guys to be experiencing it too makes me feel like it could be tied into the things that we've been doing, or maybe it's just because you're empaths and you're connecting to me, so you might be connecting to my energy and like what I'm doing, but I don't know. That's been happening, and I just wanted to put it out there for anybody at this part in the journey that may be also experiencing it, and let you know that you're not crazy, and that hopefully it's going to shift and you'll just be like more capable of doing what you need to do with your time. So this whole video is going to be about is the Galactic War, and I know many of you guys know about it. Like, you should, by this point in Alcyone Light Healing, know that there was at least a Galactic War, just because I've mentioned it, you know, a couple of times up until now. And if you're a starseed, if you're somebody that's like looked into starseed stuff, you've probably heard about it, especially, you know, if you've gone further than like 25 characteristics that you're a starseed, you'll probably have stumbled into the information about the fact that there was a galactic war. However, what I have noticed, and what the emissaries were like bringing forward, is the fact that like the story and the details vary a lot. Some say that it was the Orion Wars, some say that it was in Lyra, but you know, it's like, it's weird because it's like it's always varying, which a lot of channeling things can vary, like, but like when you go look up the characteristics of Pleiadians, they're usually pretty much all kind of put on under the same thing. When you look up the information about, you know, different stuff to do with this, it's usually kind of right about the same as somebody else. Sometimes the channelings will vary. Sometimes people will have like a little bit different version of reality than the other. But when it comes to the Galactic War, I find that that one kind of varies a lot depending on who you're connecting to. And I think sometimes people just, it gets mixed in with the like video game world too, or like movies and stuff, because, you know, like, it's like a, I don't know, like I feel like some people talk about the Galactic War, but they're not really talking about the Galactic War, you know what I mean? They maybe just like thinking about a video game that they played, or, you know, playing Fantasyland or something. But there is a lot of different stories. But all of them, no matter which one that you connect with that's about the Galactic War that I'm connecting with, all say that Lyra was destroyed. So common sense would suggest that that war at least went to Lyra, because Lyra was the one that was destroyed. So if it was the Orion Wars, I feel like that maybe means that the Orions traveled around and caused war in more than one place, and that Lyra was the one that got destroyed. But, you know, again, take it as it resonates for you, as to what makes sense to you. Another phenomena about all of this is, like, the memories. For me, I don't have any memory of the war. And I haven't met too many other people who do. And I meet people that are connected to this stuff a lot. Like, it's almost like I have, like, a little radar on me that are, like, you know, starseeds. And the people that I meet usually have memories of Atlantis, or they have memories of Lemuria, or they have memories of being in Sirius, or they have memories of the Pleiades, or they have memories of, you know, their past lives. They usually have memories of something, or a knowing that something existed, or a knowing about, you know, like being a starseed, or just, I just know. But I don't find too much of that with the war. Like, all these starseeds that I've met over the years, and all these people that I've talked to online and in person, I don't get a whole lot of like, oh yeah, the war was this, and I remember being there, and I blah 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 blah. The most I've seen or really, have had people talk about is like, oh, I had a dream about being in war, like in space. But even the way that they word it, it's like, I had a dream I was at war in space. They don't say like, oh, I remember the Galactic War, I dream about it. Like, they just had a dream about it. I only actually really connected with one person that had memories of the war, but they didn't want to mention details about it, and I wasn't going to push them for it. So it's just been weird. It's like a weird little phenomena surrounding it. Um, but like I said, they remember all these other things and talk about all these other things. So there's a possibility that there's been some manipulation here. That either people have had been manipulated with false memories of events, or that memories have been wiped out completely, and that the collective mind has maybe been, swiped and just kind of cleared out of that part of the story. Now, that could help to make sense of why there's so many conflicting stories, too. If, like, everybody's memory of it was cleared away, then, that would be causing for people to have, a variation in the story when they try to tap into it and recover the information of it. Because even if, with these things, like when people have their memories wiped, sometimes they start to remember anyways, but they don't remember all of it, or it's like a little like weird version of it. It changes. And then there's also the possibility that it was just too painful, so people suppressed it. But even in that, when things are suppressed, we still get like inklings, we still have moments of like, I remember that, and it comes up, especially like through meditation or, connecting on a, different level, letting our consciousness open up. A lot of times people will remember things or see things, or, just kind of have a feeling or a sense or whatever. But it doesn't feel like too many people are having those experiences with this one particular thing. And I guess it doesn't really matter. So no matter what happened, or no matter what you resonate with what I just said, all of us have been impacted by it. Whether, it was on a little scale or a big scale, you have, been impacted by it, and you're still impacted by it. And the universal consciousness has changed as a result of it, which, we've got our little collective consciousness here with the Earth and all the beings on it. But when you think about this was beyond the Earth. This was out in the galaxies, and, like Orion and Lyra and Sirius and all these other places were out there existing. So it impacted the collective of the universe in our area. So it's like a universal consciousness that has been impacted. So this was a war of power, greed, manipulation between light and dark, is what I've received for information, which again is another one of those things that when you look into information about the Galactic War, there's not too many people out there talking about why we had it or what it was about, I think I saw one time somebody mentioned that it was like the reptilians or the Dracos went to Lyra, and there was a misunderstanding, and because of the misunderstanding, they decided to blow up Lyra. Which sounds kind of like, really? Like, it was just a misunderstanding, so they blew them up? I mean, it's possible. There's people out there that suck, that, like, are, like, would shoot you because you didn't understand what they said, or, they took what you said wrong. But it felt a little extreme for it to be, like, a misunderstanding. You know what I mean? Like, for, like, a lot of people to lose their life. I think sometimes whatever, like, before we do those, well, then this is the thing. It's a fight between light and dark, so I guess that would make sense, that maybe it was a misunderstanding, but the misunderstanding happened to be between light and dark, and the light probably was the one that was misunderstood by the dark, and the dark decided to destroy the light. So, shit happened. But yeah, like, I've also noticed that like, there's always like, oh, there was a galactic war, oh, the Great Galactic War, oh, the Orion Wars or this war, but there's never like a, hey, this is why the Galactic War happened, or what was the problem. So anyways, it happened, and, it's something that has changed the collective consciousness, and I feel has, been impacting us since then. And it's also like the same type of struggle through dark and light, or through the need of power, greed, and manipulation that led to the struggles and the fall of Atlantis. Also, the same struggles and the Earth right now. So, if you look at the Earth right now, there seems to be a lot of the similarities about, this whole power struggle and this whole greedy thing and this whole being manipulated. And to what degree you see that and what degree you recognize it will depend upon how probably awake you are, but it's definitely impacting us at this time. So duality was created, and duality has created havoc for us now for many, many lifetimes. And we're basically in a karmic loop which began with the Galactic War here in this area. Like, I feel like Earth has been, really stunted and manipulated and kind of put into this place where things kind of suck because of this. And, it's just something that keeps looping around, or keeps getting, more intense. People just keep reincarnating. People are, experiencing war. People are experiencing, all of the energies of the darkness and the duality that exists. And it's just something that's been going over and over and over on big and small scales. And I feel like when we had this happen, when the Galactic War happened, or when Lyra was destroyed, it was basically the time where, like, there was a split in consciousness here, and that duality became existing because of it, and that was like the creation of ego and all of those other things. But I also feel like some other stuff may have happened, that, everybody may be like, oh, but basically it's created suffering, separation, and limitation. So we now have energetic imbalances, planet of duality, and we're under the control of those who manipulate the collective consciousness. So regardless of you remembering the war or not, you have healing to do from it. And we have work to do because of it. And there's things that have been, happening since the time before the war too. Because for me, like, my whole thing that I kind of feel like maybe partly tied into this is, because there's a lot of stories and there's a lot of things that I've heard over the time that I've been, connecting to all of this, some of it through channeling, some of it through just like finding other people's channeling, and just some of it just coming in. But I know that Lyra was responsible for seeding a lot of other places, including Earth, and that after Lyra was destroyed, a lot of the peeps that were there that survived went to, like, the Pleiades, and, like, migrated to other places to find place to go. So if you look at that, you realize that, like, the Pleiadians are actually just like a different version of the Lyrans, because the Lyrans had nowhere to be, so they ended up over there and becoming a different, race, I guess. But I feel like only some of them did, and I think that there may have already been life there, or that they already had seeded life there and then knew to go back there. You know what I mean? Because the Lyrans are half human, half feline, and when you look at Pleiadians, they're all human. But it would also make sense for them to go to Sirius, because Sirius also has like half and half beings and all types of beings. Sirius is more like Earth, where it's like there's everything, and then of course there's Vega. So Vega, obviously, many of the Lyrans would have ended up there. But I know that they seeded Vega too, and they seeded here. Now, at some point, the Anunnaki came here and started manipulating the DNA of the beings on the planet. And I feel like that may have possibly been a reason for what happened, or the misunderstanding, because if you seeded a planet and then all of a sudden there's other beings at that planet manipulating the DNA of the beings that you created or brought life to, you'd feel like those are your kids, and you'd be like, what are you doing to my kids? So I feel like the Lyrans could have possibly had something to say about what was happening here, and the fact that they were creating a slave race for themselves, because that's what they were doing, and that could have led to some shit. I've also had, this thing where it's like, I don't know, like the Anunnaki, if they were creating a slave race, obviously weren't, of the highest high. And then we have the Draco, which we've all heard have not been of the highest high. And then we have Orion mixed in there. And I feel like not all of the Orions are bad, because there's still some here. And I'm like, why? Like, I don't know. I feel like some of the Dracos and some of the Anunnaki and some of the Orions that were kind of flipped into the negative parts of themselves, have a part in all of this, and that a lot of this is still kind of playing out, and it's basically like, he's here on the planet now, but everybody's human on the planet right now, but I feel like they come from different places, basically, as like, their history or who created them here. Like some of us were, manipulated and created. Well, all of us became created as a result of the manipulation to the DNA. So then whoever did that has some of their stuff here with us. They like manipulated with their DNA. So we have some of the DNA of the darkness and we have the DNA of the good. So it's like they created the duality here by doing that to us. And I think that's what the problem is that we need to like realize that it's like been like into our DNA and into our cells and into our atoms and into our actual physical reality, and our consciousness. So it's kind of like really messed up. But basically now we still have people here who are in control of everything. And we also have our unconscious mind and our ego that we need to clear and reprogram. And the unconscious mind, houses all of the experiences that we've had forward and back and in all of our lives. So it's basically like this big memory bank of good and bad. And you probably don't remember the trauma of every single lifetime that you've lived, but your unconscious does. So we also have to work on those things. And there's been a creation of cellular memories that, have resulted from every trauma, every abuse, every pain, every shock that you've experienced, is stored inside of you on a cellular memory. So that's why when, like, if you've ever been hit, if somebody moves too quickly by you, you're like, oh, like you think you might get hit. But it's, even if you know that person won't hit you just because they're moving in a way that somebody else once did, your cellular memories are like, you're gonna get hit, move. And we do, because our bodies remember it, our cells remember it, and we react to it. So we have cellular memory, we have all this stuff that we need to work on. And it causes physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual disease. So you may have, some emotional stuff going on that you don't know where it came from. You might have phobias that you don't know where they came from. You might have fear that you don't have like any reason to fear, but you have it. And you could have reoccurring dreams of things, or you could just have, something inside of you that's not feeling 100% correct, physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally. Something is up. And I know for a fact that almost everybody that I connect to has this. And the world is still living in karma of the Galactic War, in the programming that resulted, that began there. And so reality is manipulated, and it's like a situation here where we're being controlled to keep us in a state of fear. And our history has been manipulated because there's, so much stuff that we don't know, or that people theorize, or people, have basically just given up on figuring out. And it's clearly because something happened. And like the biblical stories that are all over the earth were basically scare tactics. And, it was all based off of the fall of Atlantis. The fall of Atlantis happened, which was like a big flood, and then we have all of a sudden everybody talking about on the planet a flood that was because God was mad, and if you do something bad, you're going to go to hell, or God is going to basically flood us again. So everybody here on the planet was all scared and upset. But you also notice that at the time, they had like a descension. They went from like being evolved beings, or having like the abilities to create things and do things and have like pyramids and a worldwide way of connecting, because the pyramids were not just in one place, they were all over, and there's huge places all over this planet that kind of mimic the others. And there's like, they're under the water, they're over here, they're over there. so it shows that there was at one time a pretty large thing going on here on a large scale, and everybody all over the place knew of the other and was communicating with each other. And then all of a sudden, we don't know what's going on. All of a sudden, people think that if they take their boat too far, they're going to go off the side of the frickin' earth. And then we have people all of a sudden who are discovering America when America was already discovered and South America was already discovered and all these places already existed long before anybody, took their little boat there. So it's been manipulated, it's been controlled, it's been, told in a certain way to keep people in a certain state of being, and it basically got the slave race that they had wanted from the get-go. So I really feel that, there was an attempt to save us and it didn't work. And so what happened was things got, crazy, and then they just kind of wiped us out, like memory-wise or something like that, and reprogram things so that people would believe. It was easier to make them believe certain things to keep them under control than it was to just be like, hey, you're our slaves. Because if you do that, people fight, people rise up, people are like, no, you're not. Like, I'm gonna do something about it. And I think they realize, like, oh, if we just kind of like lie to them and manipulate this whole story, we can just do what we want anyways. So it feels kind of like that's what happened. And that, Earth's history has basically been like wiped out of our consciousness because there's not too many people out there who are like having visions and memories and dreams of like what really went down. So instead, we've been programmed with fear to keep us in our fight or flight mode, and we're running off of our reptilian brain, and we run off of our 3 lower chakras. And I think that's pretty clear because everybody's like greedy, everybody's, basic needs and survival and money and bullshit, and I need to have sex and I need to have this and I need to have that, and everybody's just very, very low vibrational with this stuff. So it kind of makes sense to me. And then we had beliefs downloaded through manipulation, passed on through genetically, and past our past lives that we've been living over and over and over. Because not only have we been like shut down in those ways, we've been kept like a prisoner here through consciousness and limited in our whole little karmic cycle of reincarnation. So even if you die, you come right back. And you do it again, and you do it again, and you do it again, and you do it again. And each time you do it, you're just accumulating more shit. You're accumulating more karma. You're creating more of those memories, cellular memories of fear. You're creating more memories of pain and separation and darkness and death and duality. And it's making it more dense and more dense and more dense for people to like rise out of it and get help and like get the hell out of here and stop reincarnating back into it, which is what I feel like is wanted from certain individuals. So basically we've been pushed into darkness, into addictions, into doubts, into grief, into jealousy, anger, feeling like we've been abandoned, feeling like we're unworthy, feeling shame, feeling guilt, feeling suspicious, and basically being slaves. So what we need to do is become aware, and we need to control our minds and stand in our power, because that's the only way we're really going to be able to do anything about it, is by realizing like there's a problem here, like we shouldn't be living like this, and everybody just accepts it because everybody grows into it, like they come into it. Like, back in the day they had to come up with that big story and like clear shit out and change things up, and it was much easier to kind of create this whole little like version of existence and reality for people, like, oh yeah, like you're the center of creation and God made you, and if you do bad things, God will kill you, and we'll just tell them whatever and make them go to work and pay their bills and pay the taxes and pay this and pay that and do this and do that, and give false hope of like control of your own life, because people are like, well, I'm free, but you're not. You still are run by your ego. You're still run by the rules. Like, you will go to jail if you don't follow the rules. You will do this if there's things that will happen if you don't do exactly what you're told to do, which I get that, like, the point of like some of it is probably beneficial because there's the duality here. So there are people here that do bad things, but if we had never been manipulated to begin with, or put that shit into us, then we wouldn't be doing those bad things. We wouldn't have killers and murderers and rapists and all of those bad, people that end up going away. But there's also good people that go away just because they didn't follow the rules. So basically, we need to come into our power more. We need to control our minds, and we need to realize, that we have to step up and be like, I'm not a victim. Like, we no more being a victim, because everybody thinks that they're a victim of something, and everybody is, in a way, a victim, but like, believing that is what's keeping us a victim of this whole situation. If you keep thinking I'm a victim, and I'm a this, and I'm a that, and blah, 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 you continue to stay there. So I'm not giving you all of this information for you to feel bad or sad or mad, because that's the opposite of what I want you to do. I want you to stop reacting from your ego, and I want you to stop seeking outside of yourself information and answers and things like that. I want you to start going within for the answers and finding out what you think, what you believe, what you know about all of this, and break free from the limitations of the 3D experience that we're in, because the 3D is very limited, and it's become more and more limited. And I mean, you can see this just by the way the Earth is. And I find it interesting that, like, the Earth is crooked, right? Like, it's tilted on its axis, which they don't know why. And it shouldn't be. Everything else is normal. Everything else is spinning the right way. But for whatever reason, Earth is spinning like it's got a wobble. And I think that it's been, like, put off for a reason. I feel like if it was on where it needed to be on, that, like, those ley lines and, like, the pyramids and the big things on this planet and the stuff inside the planet and all of these other things that are here would, like, work appropriately and help to raise the consciousness back up to where it may have once been, and to help people to break out of this, like, control system and break out of this, like, limited way of being, and running out of our base energy and our basic needs and survival and our bullshit mind, and just kind of, like, elevate up out of here and take back our power, because there's so much more of us than there is of those who are controlling things. So even in that, it's like it just shows that there's manipulation, and that there's, like, this way of being able to manipulate the masses when you do it the right way. But if you can start to rewrite the past and retrieve your soul fragments and rewrite the memories and retrieve the memories and the timelines and the experiences and all the things that actually happen, clear your cellular memories, you can, command the energy, you can break the cycles, and you can break out of the prison. You can win the war that's still happening. But you have to do the work. And when I say rewrite the past, you can do that through soul retrieval. You can do that through past life regression. You can do that through hypnosis, where you just go back and see what it was. Don't relive it, because that's what we're doing tonight, is we're going to go back and we're going to see the war. Like, whatever part of it that you need to see of it, because if more and more of us do this, we can rewrite it on a grand scale. We can get rid of whatever thing happened that we need to rewrite, so that we can heal and, change the timelines now and change the timelines in the future, so that we don't keep repeating and living off of this karmic loop. But when you go up, you don't want to relive it, and, like, you just want to see what happened from a higher perspective and be like, oh, that's what happened. Okay. Because many of us don't remember. Some of us do, but many of us don't. So if you do remember, you're going to probably go back to the time that you remember, but you're not going to relive it. You're just going to look at it, and look at it with, like, a psychological, why did that happen? Oh, because that person is kind of crazy. But why is that person kind of crazy? Oh, because they kind of, like, came from that race, or they came from that existence of that energy. So it's really, like, not like they're just a bad guy. It's just that they that's all they know. So, okay, I understand it. I looked at it. Now I'm going to rewrite it, and I'm going to have this go down differently. And because I had it go down differently, it's going to ripple out through space and time, through all these other experiences that have happened from then on, and rewrite those as well. And then it's going to create a whole new timeline for us to exist on, anchor to, and create for our future. And that's something that I also do for people, like, one-on-one, or I don't do it right now for one-on-one, but, like, I've done it one-on-one, and we do it for this life, right? For all the things that you've had for trauma in this life. Okay, so after I do this with you, do it for this life, do it for past lives, do it for more lives, because you're going to want to go back and rewrite the traumas, which will help you to heal that part inside of you that goes like this for things that you've went through, or has like a scary fear of water because maybe you drowned in another life, or is like crazy afraid of fire because they burned you at the stake, or whatever it is that you've got, whatever your phobias are, whatever your fears are, whatever the crazy thing inside of your head is that shouldn't exist but does, it's not crazy. It comes from somewhere. It came from something that you've existed within, and you need to go back, see it, not relive it, not traumatize yourself again, just see it from a higher perspective of, oh, that makes sense, and I forgive whoever did it or why it happened, and I'm going to rewrite it, and I'm going to rewrite all that has happened as a result of it, moving forward and back, and I'm going to create new timelines, new existence for people, for myself, for everybody. So you can do that and help everybody, and you can do that for the war, you can do that for your own individual life that you're living right now, and you can do that for lifetimes that you've already existed within before. So like if you do it for this lifetime, when you go back, you're going to go back to the last time it was that you had a trauma. You know, and it may have been 2 weeks ago, it may have been 5 years ago, whatever trauma it was, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, whatever one pops into your mind when you think of, all right, let me go to that trauma that I need to heal, it will come up and you'll know. And you already know all the details of it, so just look at it, rewrite it. Then you're going to go back even further to the one before that, to the one before that, all the way back to that little child that you were at one point, and rewrite those ones. And then once you get all the way through this lifetime, instead of coming back to like waking consciousness, go back to another life. Say, I would like to go back to another lifetime that I've existed within to heal myself and my karma, and to heal the traumas and the, shock or the disbelief or the whatever it was that when it happened took a fragment of my soul. Because that's what happens when you go through shock, is it's like a part of you is left behind in that moment. It still exists, but it fragmented off of you, and now instead you have this like little like thing inside of you that's afraid or fearful, or living out of like this lower vibration, and is more likely to create more of those moments now because you let go of like the divine self and let in this new version of self that's from manipulation and fear and darkness. So you want to rewrite those and go back through as many lifetimes as you can. You can do it in multiple sessions, but just start rewriting this stuff and then clearing out those cellular memories. And then also what you can do is go back and do this for your ancestors, because your ancestors have also screwed you, because whatever they believed, whatever they went through, whatever trauma they've experienced has now been passed down to you. Like for women, we hold all of that trauma and crap that our ancestors went through in our womb space. So you want to go back and rewrite whatever you've been through, or whatever your ancestors have been through that is impacting you energetically right now in this moment. Because like if your grandmother was raped, or your great-great-great-great-great-grandmother was raped, you may have some stuff that is inside of you and your belief systems and in your energies and your, little memories there, your cellular memories, your, just your energy and frequency, your belief system. Like you may just have like a fear of dudes and you don't know why, but there's no real reason for you to have it, but it's probably because something happened in the history of your ancestral lineage. And unfortunately we have a lot of those because we've been stuck here reincarnating time and time and time and time and time and time and time again. And if we want to ever get out of here, we need to start becoming more aware, healing these things and breaking free of those things. Because if your grandfather or your great-great-great-grandfather thought that money was the root of all evil, even if it is, doesn't matter. That belief is going to make you have a relationship with money that's going to suck. Like you aren't going to be able to manifest money because somewhere inside of you, you believe what they believed. You have memories on your ancestral line, on your experience, like day-to-day life, like what you experience will impact you, what they experience will impact you, what you went through in a past life will impact you. So not only are you having these cellular things, you're having these memories as well in your belief system. and you have it, like through your consciousness and your unconscious mind, that, doing this work, you can access it. You can go into the unconscious, you can reprogram all of this stuff, you can find all of this stuff, access all of this stuff, and do something about all of this stuff, so that you don't keep living in limitation, that you don't keep creating from fear, from doubt, from duality and darkness, and you can, do what you need to do. And again, we see a lot of this from society too, like these beliefs and this stuff that has been impacting everybody. Like, you see it, like they show you these women who are getting like all of this work done on themselves, right? And then not only that, they're gonna now Photoshop their pictures even further. So you see them, you think that like that's the body you should try to attain to have, even if you don't think it consciously, like, I need to have that body. There's something inside of you that's like constantly shown these things, so you start to believe that that's the norm, or start to believe that that's what people want or men want. So then you start to think that's what I need to have in order to get a man, or that's what I should have, or why don't I look that way, or whatever. And that's just one example of this. Like, people do it, they do it with everything. They do it with money, they do it with vehicles and women and men, and the way that you look, and like what you should have, and where you should be in life, and all of that. And it's just to keep you in this little ego running mind that is constantly seeking approval and acceptance from outside of yourself rather than inside of yourself. It causes jealousy, it causes envy, it causes all of the lower vibrational things, all of the stuff that they say in the freaking Bible, that if you do, you're gonna go to hell. But then all of a sudden it's like, society seems to be programming everybody to try to make them live from that place. So now we have guilt, now we have fear, now we feel like bad that we are living that way, but we're programmed to do it from the day that we're born, with the Barbies that we play with the magazines that we see, with the TV shows that were played. I mean, go back and watch some of the cartoons you watched as a kid and see some of the stuff that's been said in it, or that they're talking about within it, and you'll be like, whoa, wait a minute, I didn't ever pick that up. Or go listen to songs that you used to listen to as a kid and be like, oh, maybe that's why I'm a little messed up now, but it's done through programming, through everything, through the music systems, through just like everything that you connect with and see. And then think about the school system. You go to school, but who's teaching you? The people who run the world. So they're only telling you what they want to tell you. The history books are only going to be written to include what they want you to believe within that history, and it's going to vary dependent upon what part of the world you're on, and what kind of goes along with the power systems there, and keeping people in a fear loop, or keeping them in a limited loop, whatever kind of goes along with that place in the world. And let's just kind of go with this version of the story. But if you notice, we're starting to break out of this. So if we keep breaking out of it, it's a good thing. But back not too long ago, everybody on the planet believed basically the same exact thing, whether it was the Quran or the Bible or whatever, but it was just told in different versions with different language, different, oh, this was what happened, or no, this is what happened. But it's basically all the same story. And it all started with Egypt, the story that was told in Egypt, with Osiris and all of that. It's basically been manipulated and told again and again and again and again all over the planet through different religions. And then we have now governments, but the governments and the religions are basically doing the same things. So, there's a lot of stuff that is done here that people kind of just accept because their parents accepted it, and if mom and dad accept it, then I accept it. And then we have people who become, I'm gonna be this because because their parents were. They don't think for themselves. They don't step out of that loop. They don't step out of those beliefs. They don't change anything. They just accept things blindly and do it because they saw it and it keeps being shown to them. And that's why some people are very easily manipulated, and some people are very easily told what to do or believe whatever. And it's it bothers me so bad when I see that, because I'm like, oh my god, like I got somebody to message right now in my little world here that I was like, what? So just do your best to wake up and be aware of how the world works, and be aware of like what you do as a result of things that have happened in this world, like in this lifetime, and then go deeper and just keep looking for it. But we're going to start off tonight with the Galactic War. We're going to go and just rewrite what we need to rewrite and retrieve what we need to retrieve. There's nothing to be afraid of because you're not reliving it, you're just looking at it and then taking back whatever was lost in that moment. So hopefully that made sense to some of you, and hopefully you'll take this and kind of start using it on your own to retrieve what you need to retrieve individually for yourself, so you can break out of this loop and out of the limitations and out of the control systems and get us out of here, because we need to kind of like turn things back on and leave this place. There's a lot of stuff here that's not running right anymore, or hasn't been running right for a long time because it was messed with, and we want to get it to be right. Okay, so thank you guys very much. In Renee, namaste.